Hey Coffee Geeks, welcome back to the Stone Creek Coffee Factory and our Brew Better video series. My name is Drew Pond, I'm the Director of Operations here at Stone Creek.
And I'm Joshua James, I am the Director of Tech.
This morning we are talking about the Chemex coffee brewer, this timeless, very aesthetically pleasing classic. The coffee we're brewing today is Green Dragon Costa Rica. It's one of our light roasted coffees that we keep year round. We'll get into the specs of this as we brew the coffee. So this brewer is wonderful for brewing multiple cups. Like a lot of the manual brew methods that are out there, you're getting one serving out of it. Chemex, you can dial in a pretty killer brew and be able to serve 2, 3, 4 people. Ratio wise, I like to use a 1 part coffee to 15 parts water brewing ratio in the Chemex. With something like a V60 brewer, you might go 1 to 17, but we're gonna use a coarser grind with this coffee, and we wanna make sure that we get enough like juicy flavors out of it, even with that coarse grind. So a little bit of an up dose to a 1 to 15, probably worthwhile. Definitely what I like doing. So we're gonna go 35 grams coffee, 525 grams water. And you're gonna brew this basically the same way as you would a V60. It's a cone-shaped brewing method that requires these filters. There's 4 pieces of paper up in there, and you just wanna take one flippy flap, and pull it away and create a little basket right up in there. And then you're gonna keep 3 on one side. So 1, 3, and then you're gonna put the 3 against the nozzle. And then we're gonna add a little pre-wet here to preheat our brewing vessel and keep the filter down in there. Make sure you take your rinse water and you get it out of there. You can just pour it right through the little nozzle area, but you will screw up your brew pretty fast if you brew right on top of your rinse water. That's not good eats. One note about this filter is it's a very fine filter compared to like the V60. So not only are we dealing with a higher brew size, 35 grams of coffee compared to say like 24 in a V60, we're also dealing with a filter that doesn't really allow the water to pass through very quickly. So it's a slightly longer brew time naturally.
We got our grind size here. You're gonna be looking for more of like coarse sea salt, less than that flaky kosher salt, but before it gets too fine like that iodized table salt.
We're shooting for a 3 to 4 minute brew time on this. If it starts to go over 4, you get into 6 minutes, you end up with an over extracted coffee, which tastes like envelope adhesive. It dries your mouth out. You don't get a juicy cup. We don't want that. Don't want that at all. We want to make sure we get a sweet, clean, and juicy cup, which means we need the proper extraction time and method.
And if you're purchasing coffee from Stone Creek, we can grind it for you and ship it to you pre-ground. So if you're looking to have kind of what we're working with today, that's anywhere between like a cone filter and a French press grind setting, just let us know.
Let's talk about our coffee, which is Green Dragon Costa Rica. So this is a coffee from the Chiripo region of Costa Rica. We've been working with the Mi Cepa co-op there in Chiripo for years and years, and it's been a great partnership. Like, we like to use a coffee that holds up really for a long time in its green coffee state in our year-round slots. So finding a good coffee that you can light roast that stays relatively fresh for you all year round is a challenge. But the folks at Mi Cepa do a wonderful job processing and drying their coffee to make sure that it stays fresh for us here in Milwaukee all year round. In the final brew, we're gonna be looking for a couple, kind of stalwart tasting notes. Cashew butter and white grape are sort of the 2 big ones. I'm like, oh yeah, I get that all day.
I kind of get hints of kind of tahini, kind of that sweet, really nice rounded buttery taste.
All right, let's brew this.
Gonna go ahead and throw that in there. Make sure we come out to right about 35.
Boom.
We measured correctly.
Start your timer, and we're gonna hit this sucker with 80 to 100 grams of water because we want a good saturation of these grounds.
During this bloom, we're looking to see these bubbles kind of come up. You're gonna see the bed of grounds kind of raise a little bit, and that just means that the gases in the coffee are being released, and that's what we want. We want those gases to come out so we can have a lot cleaner and smoother of a cup of coffee.
The second pour, we're gonna take this thing to about 375 or 400 grams. I can't pour all 525 grams in there or I'm gonna overflow the brewer, but I wanna get most of it on there. And then any grounds sort of resting on top, I want them to submerge. That means they're good and saturated and brewing well. If you have too many grounds resting on the top of your brew, they're exposed to air and they're not brewing. You don't want that. We're gonna let this just brew for a second, then we're gonna top it off at 525 grams of water. Just make sure you're pouring sort of all over. Again, goal is to submerge grounds, but if you hit the side of the filter, that's not a problem while the water runs down. Shooting for oh, boom.
Nice.
525.
It's always a small victory when you get it right on the weight you're looking for.
Periodically, as this body of water goes over the grounds bed, I'm just gonna give the Chemex a little bit of a shaky shake to help that grounds bed settle and promote an even extraction across all of the coffee grounds up in there.
So if you ever run into the issue with your Chemex where the coffee is not draining through as fast as you would like, if you take a look at this spout, sometimes when you pre-rinse this filter, the filter can kind of get stuck in this spout right here, and ultimately when that happens, it creates this vacuum that keeps the coffee from draining through at the correct speed. So if you find that you're having issues with that, just kind of look around, see if it's created a vacuum on its own, and then you would just like kind of pull up a little bit to pull that filter off that spout.
When your brew is done, remove the filter, and then you're gonna swirl this thing.
Because when you brew, the more strong coffee is gonna be at the bottom just because that's what was brewed first, and then the more watery, since it takes a little bit longer, will kind of settle at the top, so you wanna mix it in to make sure that your cup is balanced.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Thank
Clink.
you. Sink it.
That's actually really good. Yeah.
It's just really creamy and quite good, and then has enough fruit to bring balance, but it's definitely not a fruit-centric coffee. So if you want big fruit, well, you should go check out our videos where we brewed the Sunbird Kenya on a V60, and then we brewed Bone Shaker in the AeroPress. That's Fruit City, Fruit Factory. So check out those videos, and then you can also jump over to stonecreekcoffee.com, get Green Dragon, get all those coffees right now there.
So if you have any questions or concerns or are having trouble with your brew, you can go ahead and email us at customers@stonecreekcoffee.com or check us out on social media at Stone Creek Coffee. And remember, coffee's a journey, so remember to never stop learning.